Welcome, beautiful Sigma ladies. Some women follow the rules, some rewrite them, and then there are those who were never reading from the same rule book to begin with. Pause. Let that sit. Throughout history, we've studied queens, warriors, mystics, rebels, but very few understand the phenomenon of the Sigma female. She's not a trend, not a type, not even a personality. She is an ancient blueprint resurfacing in modern form. And when this code activates, it doesn't politely knock, it erupts. Now here's something wild. Neuroscientists have discovered that up to 98% of our behavior is driven by subconscious, often ancestral coding. That's right. You may think she's making choices, but in reality she's unlocking a dormant operating system that predates society itself. And unlike the motivational fluff you hear online, this isn't about confidence or being strong. No, when the ancient code inside a Sigma female activates, she doesn't become part of the world. She becomes something the world has to adapt to. Warning, what you're about to discover is not for the faint-hearted, because once you see how the Sigma female activates this code, you'll realize she doesn't fit into the system. She becomes the system's glitch. Number 1. The sovereign closure mechanism. When a Sigma female activates her ancient code, she develops something extremely rare, the ability to create her own closure. Most people are trapped in emotional loops, waiting for apologies that never come, explanations that never arrive, or validation that's always out of reach. They sit in the waiting room of life, hoping someone else will help them move on. The Sigma female does not wait. She understands that waiting for closure is like handing over the keys to her own peace of mind. Instead, she takes full ownership of her emotional state, cuts the cord, and moves forward with surgical precision. This isn't about being cold or heartless. It's about refusing to let external circumstances dictate her emotional freedom. She doesn't need to hear why someone hurt her, why an opportunity fell through, or why certain people couldn't meet her standards. She accepts that many people simply do not have the capacity to give her what she deserves, and instead of fighting reality or chasing explanations, she processes the pain, integrates the lesson, and extracts the wisdom she needs to evolve. She doesn't stay stuck in endless overthinking, emotional bargaining, or self-doubt. The decision to move forward is hers alone, and once made, it's final. This ability gives her a level of emotional independence most people never reach. She becomes immune to manipulation tactics that rely on emotional dependence, like breadcrumbing, guilt-tripping, or ghosting. People can disappear, betray, or disappoint her, but they can't control her internal state. That's the power of sovereign closure. She doesn't collapse under betrayal, she transforms. She doesn't crumble under rejection, she recalibrates. And once she's made peace within herself, she never reopens old wounds to satisfy someone else's timing. The chapter is closed, the book is shelved, and she's already writing a new one while others are still stuck on the previous page. Number 2. Antidependence financial instinct. When the ancient code activates in a Sigma female, her relationship with money shifts into something far more strategic than simple earning or saving. She develops what can only be called an anti-dependence financial instinct. She doesn't chase wealth for the sake of luxury or status. She pursues it because she understands that resources equal freedom. The more financially independent she becomes, the fewer people can control her, manipulate her, or limit her options. While many are trapped in paycheck-to-paycheck cycles, emotional spending, or dependence on partners or employers, she builds multiple layers of security beneath her feet. She diversifies her income, creates safety nets, and develops silent exit plans that no one sees coming. To outsiders, it may seem paranoid or excessive. To her, it's simply smart. She knows that life can shift in an instant, a job loss, a betrayal, an economic crash, and she refuses to be caught off guard. She moves like someone who's already seen every possible scenario and quietly prepared for them all. This instinct isn't fueled by fear or greed, but by a calm, calculated desire for self-preservation. She reads contracts carefully. She understands investments. She studies markets. She negotiates without emotional attachment. She never relies on one income source, one person, or one system to sustain her. Even in relationships, she never allows herself to fall into financial codependence because she knows dependency is a hidden form of captivity. The Sigma female doesn't flaunt her wealth or talk endlessly about her financial moves. She keeps her strategies private and her safety net invisible. She doesn't need to impress anyone because her wealth isn't for display. It's for escape, autonomy, and leverage. If ever the ground beneath her starts to shake, she has already built quiet exits that ensure she never has to beg, compromise, or settle. That is the ruthless brilliance of her anti-dependence financial instinct. Number 3. The death of false humility. When the ancient code activates in a Sigma female, one of the first illusions to collapse is false humility. She stops playing the small, polite version of herself that the world often expects from women. She no longer feels the need to pretend she's less capable, less intelligent, or less powerful, just to make others comfortable. She refuses to shrink her presence in a room to avoid being labeled arrogant, intimidating, or too much. That game is over. For too long, society has conditioned many to believe that playing down their abilities is a virtue, as if modesty automatically equals morality. But the Sigma female sees straight through this trap. She recognizes that forced humility isn't humility at all. It's self-betrayal disguised as virtue. It's a socially accepted way of encouraging powerful individuals, especially women, to disarm themselves for the benefit of others' fragile egos. Once her code is activated, she refuses to participate in this charade. She owns her mastery fully and unapologetically. If she's skilled, she says it. If she's achieved something, she claims it. If she knows she can lead, she steps up. She doesn't seek validation for doing so, nor does she downplay her excellence to seem relatable. She knows that playing small doesn't serve her, and it doesn't serve the world. This doesn't mean she becomes boastful or obnoxious, far from it. The Sigma female doesn't need to scream her worth from the rooftops because her work, her presence, and her results speak louder than any words. But if someone tries to minimize her or expect her to act as though her talents are accidental, she will correct them swiftly and directly. She's not here to comfort anyone's insecurities. She's here to embody her full potential without guilt, without apology, and without compromise. And that for many is both unsettling and magnetic. Number 4. The silent DNA of self-sovereignty awakens. When the ancient code inside a Sigma female activates, something powerful happens. The silent DNA of self-sovereignty awakens. She no longer seeks permission to exist, succeed, or make decisions. The need for external validation dissolves, because she recognizes that her authority comes from within, not from the opinions or acceptance of others. She doesn't wait for someone to recognize her potential or grant her opportunities. She steps forward and takes ownership of her path with full command. This self-governance is primal. It's not something she learned from books or personal development seminars. It's embedded in her wiring, waiting for the right moment to surface. While most people are conditioned to follow leaders, obey systems, and fit into hierarchies, the Sigma female operates outside those structures entirely. She doesn't rebel for attention or act out to prove a point. She simply exists outside the need for governance. She leads herself. In every area of life, career, relationships, personal goals, she becomes both queen and counsel. She sets her own standards. She defines her own success. She answers only to herself. This doesn't mean she isolates herself or refuses advice, but any feedback she accepts is filtered through her own judgment. If it doesn't align with her inner code, she discards it without hesitation, no matter who it comes from. The beauty of this sovereignty is that it gives her an unshakable calm. While others are tossed around by public opinion, societal trends, or the fear of not fitting in, she remains centered. She's not performing for approval or adjusting herself to meet others' expectations. She doesn't chase trends, movements, or ideologies. She decides who she is, what she wants, and how she moves, and she does it all without needing a crowd's applause. That quiet, unyielding self-rule is what makes her presence so magnetic and unsettling to those who still rely on outside validation to feel whole. Number 5. Hyper-selective energy filtering. When the ancient code activates within a Sigma female, Her entire way of interacting with the world sharpens into something few can understand: hyper-selective energy filtering. She doesn't just make choices based on logic, appearances, or surface-level benefits. Every person, opportunity, or experience that enters her life is run through an inner filtration system so advanced, it operates almost like a built-in frequency detector. If something doesn't match her internal resonance, it gets rejected instantly, often without her even needing to consciously analyze it. This isn't just about being picky or having high standards. It's a survival mechanism for her energy. She understands that her time, focus, and emotional bandwidth are finite resources, and once drained, they're not easily replenished. While many waste energy entertaining people who drain them or chasing opportunities that go nowhere, she moves differently. If a friendship feels off, she distances herself. If a business deal carries the wrong energy, she walks away. If a potential partner feels misaligned, she cuts it off before it even begins. There are no drawn-out explanations, no debates, no second-guessing. The Sigma female knows that the wrong energy isn't just uncomfortable, it's dangerous. Allowing the wrong people or situations into her space can distort her focus, compromise her goals, and pull her away from her path. She refuses to pay that price. That's why her world may seem smaller than most, but it's also sharper, cleaner, and far more powerful. Every person in her life serves a real purpose. Every project she takes on feeds her mission, and every experience she allows into her world strengthens her rather than depletes her. To some, this level of selectiveness may look cold or extreme, but to the Sigma female, it's simply necessary. She has no interest in pleasing everyone or being everything to everybody. She chooses quality over quantity in all things, and once this energetic filtration is active, very few pass through its gates, and that's exactly how she wants it. Number 6. The collapse of social scripts. When the ancient code activates within a Sigma female, the social scripts that most people live by begin to unravel in her mind. The expectations that dictate when she should marry, how she should climb the career ladder, or what her life should look like by a certain age, lose all power over her. She sees these rules for what they really are: man-made blueprints designed to keep people predictable and easy to manage. And she refuses to be either. While others are stressing about fitting into timelines, married by 30, kids by 35, promotions by 40, she simply opts out. Not because she's rebellious for the sake of rebellion, but because those scripts don't fit the life she's here to build. She knows that real fulfillment doesn't follow a mass-produced schedule. If she wants to build an unconventional business, travel for years, delay marriage, or never marry at all, she does so without guilt. If she chooses to reinvent her career at 45 or start a passion project in her 50s, she doesn't hesitate. Time doesn't pressure her, society doesn't dictate her moves, and tradition doesn't define her worth. The same applies to beauty standards. The Sigma female doesn't exhaust herself chasing ever-changing ideals of how a woman should look. She curates her own aesthetic based on what feels authentic, not on what magazines or influences dictate. She's not here to be approved by the male gaze or social media trends. Her self-worth is rooted so deeply within that external validation has no real grip on her. Because she no longer plays by these scripts, she often appears unpredictable to others. People may not understand her choices, but she doesn't explain or justify them. She simply moves according to her internal compass, and while others are still running loops written for them by society, she's building a life that's entirely her own, untouched, unbothered, and completely outside the algorithms that keep most people trapped. Number 7. The reclamation of primal instinct. When the ancient code activates in a Sigma female, her intuition evolves far beyond the casual, trust your gut advice most people follow. It sharpens into something much older, deeper, and more precise: primal sensory intelligence. This isn't vague intuition or spiritual guesswork. It's raw, biological data processing that happens in real time, often before her conscious mind even registers it. She begins to sense people's intentions before they open their mouths. She picks up on micro-expressions, body language shifts, vocal tone changes, and tiny environmental details that others completely miss. It's not magic. It's an ancient survival mechanism that was once essential to navigating dangerous environments. The same instincts that helped early humans sense threats, assess allies, and make split-second decisions that could mean life or death. In the Sigma female, that dormant system wakes up. In conversations, she reads undercurrents others aren't even aware exist. She knows when someone is lying, withholding, or trying to manipulate without needing proof. She can walk into a room and instantly sense the unspoken power structures, alliances, and hidden agendas operating beneath the surface. This instinct allows her to position herself strategically without being obvious. She moves through complex social dynamics like a skilled predator stalking its territory, always aware, always calculating. Unlike people who second-guess their instincts or overanalyze every situation, the Sigma female learns to trust this ancient data flow without hesitation. She doesn't get trapped in the paralysis of overthinking because her body and mind are already aligned, processing subtle clues that others overlook entirely. She doesn't need to wait for signs or ask others for advice. The information is already inside her, coded into her senses. This gives her an undeniable edge. While others are reacting, she's already acted. While others are trying to figure people out, she's already several moves ahead. It's not about being cold or predatory. It's about survival, strategy, and navigating a world that rewards those who see the full picture before anyone else realizes what's even happening. Number 8. The awakening of creative aggression. When the ancient code activates in a Sigma female, her creativity transforms into something far more potent than simple inspiration or artistic expression. It becomes aggressive, not in a hostile way, but in a strategic, surgical, war-level way that few understand. She no longer creates for applause, likes, or external validation. Every creative act becomes a tactical move that directly serves her personal mission. While others may dabble in creative hobbies to pass time or impress others, she weaponizes her creativity as a tool for expansion, influence, and control over her own destiny. She knows that her ideas, her projects, her businesses, or even her personal brand aren't random acts of self-expression. They are calculated pieces in a much larger puzzle. Each move is designed to open doors, create leverage, and position her exactly where she needs to be. Her creativity feeds her sovereignty. She doesn't waste time romanticizing the creative process. She's not interested in waiting for inspiration to strike or getting lost in endless brainstorming. She sits down, executes, refines, and delivers quickly and efficiently. Her mind constantly evaluates how each project contributes to her long-term vision. If it doesn't serve the mission, she discards it without hesitation. She's not here to create for creation's sake. She creates with the precision of a general planning a campaign. This aggressive creativity allows her to build empires while others are still figuring out where to start. She merges logic with innovation, strategy with originality, and vision with ruthless execution. Whether she's building a business, writing, designing, or innovating in any field, her work carries a certain weight, a quiet intensity that others can feel, even if they can't explain why. And because she's operating from such a deeply activated place, very few can keep up with the speed, clarity, and force of her creative momentum. Number 9. The activation of ancestral memory. When the ancient code activates in a Sigma female, something deeply psychological and rarely spoken about starts to surface: the activation of ancestral memory. This isn't some mystical vision or spiritual fantasy. It's real, grounded, biological memory coded in her very DNA, shaped by the lives and struggles of the women who came before her. Generations of matriarchs, rebels, warriors, healers, and outsiders who refused to bend to the pressures of their time left imprints on her genetic makeup. And when her code activates, those imprints start to wake up. She begins to feel an unexplainable pull toward independence, strength, and nonconformity, even if she can't trace exactly where it comes from. The instincts to stand alone, to fight for her space, to protect her freedom, these aren't things she had to learn. They feel innate because in many ways they are. Her ancestors, who fought to survive in a world that demanded their silence and submission, didn't just pass down their stories, they passed down chemical markers in her cells. Science calls it epigenetics, the biological inheritance of experience. While others may feel lost without a clear roadmap, she carries an internal compass that seems to guide her through challenges she's never personally faced. She instinctively knows when to push, when to hold back, when to detach, and when to rise. It's not luck or superior knowledge. It's the silent echoes of women who made hard choices long before she was born, encoded into her biology. This is why she often feels disconnected from the societal structures most people eagerly follow. She isn't wired for blind obedience or fragile conformity because her very bloodline was shaped by those who lived outside the expected norms. That ancestral weight doesn't make her heavy, it makes her steady. She carries generations of resilience within her, and when that memory awakens, she steps into a kind of power that doesn't waver under pressure. It's not new. It's simply been waiting for her to activate it. Number 10. Rejection of the feminine competition complex. When the ancient code activates in a Sigma female, one of the most liberating shifts happens. She exits the exhausting world of feminine competition. She no longer feels any need to measure herself against other women based on looks, wealth, popularity, or relationships. The usual games of who's the most attractive, who's married first, who has the biggest ring, or who gets the most attention lose all meaning for her. That entire system simply becomes irrelevant. While many are caught in silent battles for status and validation, she moves in a different dimension altogether. The Sigma female understands something most never grasp. True power doesn't sit on a ladder where someone else's rise means her fall. Power to her is not a finite resource handed out in limited quantities. It's sovereign, it's personal. Someone else's beauty, success, or attention doesn't threaten or diminish her own. She doesn't view life as a competition to win approval points in the eyes of others. Her worth isn't up for debate or comparison. Because of this, she often makes other women uneasy, not because she's competing with them, but because she simply doesn't care to play the game at all. Her confidence isn't loud or performative. She doesn't need to announce her wins or parade her life online to prove she's thriving. She knows who she is, and that certainty makes her presence unsettling to those who are still addicted to external ranking systems. Her energy is not spent tearing others down or secretly hoping others fail. She's too focused on her own mission. She supports, collaborates, or simply observes, but she never feels the need to enter the silent wars of comparison that drain so many. Her detachment from this dynamic frees up enormous mental and emotional space, allowing her to channel her energy into real growth, creativity, and self-mastery. And that is precisely why she becomes so powerful, because while others are locked in petty rivalries, she's building something untouchable. Number 11. The mastery of psychological distance. When the ancient code activates in a Sigma female, she develops something most people struggle their entire lives to master: psychological distance. She learns how to detach herself not only from situations, but from the emotional chaos that often comes with them. While others get pulled into the drama, take things personally, and get emotionally hijacked, she steps back, not out of coldness, but out of conscious discipline. She doesn't allow herself to be swept away by every argument, crisis, or conflict that demands attention. Instead, she observes. She watches people's behaviors, motives, and patterns with sharp awareness, but without letting their energy penetrate her own state of mind. This ability to hold emotional space without drowning in it gives her a huge advantage. She sees things clearly while others are blinded by their reactions. When people throw insults, play games, or try to provoke her, she doesn't take the bait. She knows that reacting emotionally gives away power. Instead, she allows others to reveal themselves while she remains composed, processing events through logic and long-term thinking rather than impulse. She's not emotionless. She simply refuses to hand her emotions over to those who haven't earned access to them. This psychological distance also allows her to make tough decisions that others avoid. Where most people become paralyzed by guilt, fear of judgment, or attachment, she moves with precision. If someone becomes toxic, she cuts ties. If an opportunity no longer serves her growth, she walks away. She doesn't need closure from others or permission to move on, because she's already processed the situation from a position of clarity, not confusion. By staying psychologically distant from chaos, she protects her peace, her focus, and her mission. The world may be noisy, but inside her mind it's calm, controlled, and unshakable. And that calm, in a world addicted to drama, is one of her most dangerous and magnetic traits. Number 12. Unapologetic self-prioritization. When the ancient code activates in a Sigma female, one of the first things it dismantles is the guilt that society has conditioned so many women to carry, the guilt of putting themselves first. The narrative that says a woman should always sacrifice, compromise, and serve others at the expense of her own well-being simply disintegrates. She stops apologizing for choosing herself. She no longer views self-prioritization as selfish, but as necessary maintenance for her energy, her mind, and her mission. The Sigma female understands something most people don't. When you constantly pour into others without boundaries, you deplete your own reserves. And when you're drained, you're not useful to anyone. Not yourself, not your loved ones, not your vision. So she guards her energy with precision. She doesn't overcommit. She doesn't stay in one-sided relationships. And she doesn't sacrifice her peace to meet someone else's unrealistic expectations. The old martyrdom programming, where a woman is expected to abandon her needs to prove her worth, is rejected entirely. She refuses to wear exhaustion like a badge of honor. She doesn't need to prove her value by how much she suffers for others. Instead, she measures her success by how well she maintains her personal power, focus, and emotional clarity. This unapologetic self-prioritization allows her to operate at a level most people simply can't reach. While others are trapped in endless cycles of people-pleasing and burnout, she remains centered, clear, and fully aligned with her goals. Her no is firm. Her boundaries are non-negotiable, and she doesn't offer explanations or seek permission for the choices she makes. Some may label her as cold or distant, but she knows the truth. She's preserving the most valuable resource she has, her energy. Because with that energy intact, she can build, create, lead, and evolve without being pulled into the exhausting demands of others. That's not selfishness. That's strategy, and it's one of the key reasons why Sigma females move through life with such rare power and calm authority. When the ancient code activates within a Sigma female, what emerges isn't simply a stronger version of who she once was. It's an entirely different operating system. She doesn't just evolve, she reclaims something far older, far deeper, and far more unshakable than modern society even understands. While most people are trapped in invisible cages, waiting for validation, tethered to expectations, competing for attention, or seeking safety through others, the Sigma female quietly steps outside the entire system. Her financial instincts shift into a realm of cold precision, ensuring her absolute independence long before challenges arise. She turns creativity into a tactical weapon, building empires and legacies, while others are still waiting for inspiration. Her ancestral memory wakes up like an old sentinel, feeding her with unexplainable wisdom passed down through generations of outliers who survived outside the lines. That primal intelligence sharpens her senses, allowing her to read environments and power dynamics almost instantly, long before others even realize there's a game being played. She disengages from the feminine competition complex completely, refusing to waste energy on comparison or insecurity. Where others scramble for rank, she stands sovereign, knowing true power isn't won by climbing a ladder, but by building her own ground to stand on. Her psychological distance allows her to observe chaos without being consumed by it, protecting her emotional and mental clarity like a shield. And when life delivers its inevitable betrayals, endings, and disappointments, she doesn't beg for closure. She creates it. She closes her own wounds with surgical finality, refusing to be emotionally held hostage by people who lack the integrity to offer real resolution. All of these elements weave together to form something extremely rare, a woman who cannot be controlled, manipulated, or defined by external forces. She is not in rebellion against the world. She is simply outside of its reach. Society's algorithms, scripts, and power games have no grip on her because she's operating from a place they were never designed to access. The Sigma female is not a trend, not a label, and not a performance. She is a living expression of ancient sovereignty awakening in the modern world, a force quietly building her own empire while the rest are still playing by rules she long ago dismantled. And once this code activates, there is no going back. If you found this breakdown as powerful and eye-opening as I believe you did, make sure to hit that like button. It lets me know you're part of this rare tribe. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of these deep dives into the Sigma female mindset, because trust me, we're just getting started. Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear your perspective, your experiences, and your own awakening moments. And if you know someone who needs to hear this, who's ready to break free from the scripts and activate their own ancient code, share this video with them. Together, we're building a space for those who move differently. And as always, stay sharp, stay sovereign, and I'll see you in the next one.